Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Cold Spring Harbor Meet the Candidates Night. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. On behalf of the Central Parents Council, thank you all for joining us this evening. Tonight, we are pleased to introduce 5 Cold Spring Harbor residents: Lisa Smith, Bill Wallman, Kate Della Carpini, Scott Kaufman, and Mary Redden. Each candidate has stepped forward to dedicate their time and service to our community and help to guide the future of our schools as members of our Board of Education. Serving on the Board of Education carries significant responsibility. Board members help establish district goals and priorities, oversee budgeting and expenditures, approve educational programs and resources, and support the hiring of district leadership, administrators, faculty, and staff. We are also pleased to share that tonight's event is being recorded and will be made available on the district website following the program. We hope this provides additional opportunities for the community members to hear directly from the candidates as they make informed decisions ahead of their vote. Participating in a public forum such as this takes both commitment and courage. We appreciate each candidate's willingness to answer questions openly and engage in thoughtful discussion with members of the community. In return, we ask that everyone in attendance extend the same respect and civility throughout the evening. Tonight's program will be moderated by the CPC. In an effort to maintain a respectful and productive environment, moderators reserve the right to redirect or decline questions that are deemed inappropriate, repetitive, speculative, inflammatory, or personally directed towards candidates, district staff, students, or members of the community. If necessary, participants may be asked to rephrase a question once before it is declined. We appreciate everyone's cooperation in helping us maintain a constructive conversation. I just want to add here that any of the decisions I make will be final, and any further argument will risk myself as the moderator immediately ending the event if anybody begins to be abusive towards any of the candidates. To help us remain within tonight's scheduled 2.5-hour time frame, anyone wishing to ask a question should sign up at the podium if they have not done so already. Questions will be taken in order as much as possible. When your name is called, please come to the microphone, the podium in the middle over there, state your name and street, ask your question, and please return to your seat. Each participant will have approximately 25 seconds to ask one question. Not the forum for political or personal statements or to raise concerns regarding specific members, Board of Ed members, staff, or students. Questions will not be permitted that are inappropriate, repetitive, and like I said, and/or abusive. If time permits, additional questions may be allowed following the initial round. In order to avoid repetition, we kindly ask participants to refrain from asking questions that have already been addressed. Questions may be directed to one candidate or all the candidates, and all candidates will have the opportunity to respond. Each response will be limited to 1.5 minutes, and rebuttals will not be permitted. The final audience question will be taken no later than, give or take, 9:15, because I just want to add really quickly that the board candidates and my team are going to quickly take a break at 8:15, so we're going to go maybe end around like 9:15, 9:20. After that, each candidate will deliver closing statements. The evening is expected to conclude at approximately 9:40, 9:45. Candidate contact information can be found on the CPC website for anyone with additional questions following tonight's event. As a final reminder, no recordings other than the district's official audio-visual recordings are permitted, and candidates may not advocate for or against budget proposition during tonight's program we're going to also ask that no cell phones, please, no recordings. If you need to take a call, please leave the room. So we're going to begin with opening statements. I'm going to start in alphabetical order, and we're going to begin with Kate Della Carpini. Kate?
Hi, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Kate Della Carpini, and I want to thank you all for coming and being here tonight. Over the past 3 years, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve this community as both a trustee and a vice president of the Cold Spring Harbor Board of Education. When I was elected to the board, I made a commitment to serve this community with integrity and to focus on the priorities I believe were essential to help strengthen our district: transparency, accessibility, and a strong local leadership. In addition to serving here in the Cold Spring Harbor, I also serve as a trustee on the Coalition for New York State School Board Members, where I collaborate with board members across the state on issues impacting our districts. Through that work, I became aware of New York State's regionalization plan, and I took the lead in bringing attention to it here in Cold Spring Harbor. I'm proud to say that together we were able to maintain local control while protecting our resources. Tonight, I'm proud to say that with my partnership with parents, I have delivered meaningful results. Together, we implemented ICT classes at the elementary school level, expanded recess time for younger students, maintained smaller class sizes, added universal pre-K, supported a cell phone policy at the parents' requests, implemented the hold harm policy, worked to bring air conditioning into every classroom, and added club sports to the budget, all while consistently staying under the tax cap. And perhaps most importantly for many families, we finally got a traffic light installed at the high school, saving parents nearly 30 minutes a day. Among those accomplishments, one stands out especially meaningful to me: bringing the Remembrance Bowl to Cold Spring Harbor. This event united our community around a shared purpose, honoring our nation's history and those who served our country. It was a proud moment that reflected the values that define our community. With your support and my leadership, we helped raise more than $50,000 to send 14 students to Normandy for the 81st anniversary of D-Day, something that has never been done before in Cold Spring Harbor. I was also proud to secure a $40,000 grant from Assembly Steve Stern in support of the Remembrance Bowl initiative. Those funds will support a wide range of academic opportunities, including the Civics Summit, robotics programs, hackathons, and much more. The success we have achieved together is something I look forward to continuing in my second term. My priorities moving forward include strengthening resources for our special education program through critical staffing and strategic investments, while continuing to partner with our school leaders to attract and retain the very best educators for our students. Thank you again for your support, your trust, and the opportunity to serve this incredible community.
Thank you, Kate. Miss Lisa Smith?
Good evening, and thank you so much to Kristen, Erin, Megan, the Central Parents Council, and the Cold Spring Harbor administration for making this event possible. Additional thanks to my fellow board members, candidates, and community members for coming out this evening. It is a privilege to have the opportunity to speak to you. I'm Lisa Smith, and I've been a proud resident of Cold Spring Harbor since 2007. My husband graduated from Cold Spring Harbor in 1993, and my son, who's here tonight, graduated in 2024. My daughter is currently a junior at the high school. It has truly been an honor to serve the Cold Spring Harbor community as a member of the Board of Education, and I'm respectfully asking for your support as I seek re-election on May 19th. Over the past 3 years, our district has faced evolving educational demands, increasing financial pressures, and even a fire. Throughout it all, I've remained committed to balancing fiscal responsibility with constantly striving for the exceptional educational experience our students deserve. During my term, I've served on several committees, including policy, health and safety, professional development, capital and facilities, and the district-wide technology committee. I've worked closely with stakeholders on initiatives that have expanded academic opportunities, strengthened student wellness and mental health support, enhanced district safety, and improved communication with the community. At the same time, I know there is always more work to be done, and I remain committed to continuous improvement. I'm especially proud of the work we've done to fight against regionalization, launch universal pre-K, expand integrated co-teaching programs, and improve campus safety and security, including a new traffic light at the high school. As a parent and longtime PTG volunteer and leader, I understand the importance of strong partnerships between families, educators, and administrators. To me, communication is paramount, and I have always encouraged parents and community members to reach out to me with their questions or concerns. As a professional, my scientific background, as well as my current work as a preschool administrator and teacher, give me a unique perspective on education, accountability, and creating safe, engaging learning environments for children of all ages. Cold Spring Harbor is an extraordinary community. If re-elected, I will continue to serve with integrity, enthusiasm, and dedication to all of our students, staff, and residents.
Thank you, Lisa. Mary?
Hello. Hi, my name is Mary Redden. I'm running for the Cold Spring Harbor Board of Education. Some years ago, my husband and I, we sat down and we asked ourselves the question that every parent eventually asks: where do we want to settle down and raise our children? We looked at a lot of places and we chose Cold Spring Harbor. And we chose this with purpose. We chose it for the schools, we chose it for the community that still believes public education is something worth showing up for. Both of our children now attend Cold Spring Harbor High School, and every day I'm reminded that the decisions we made then is the inheritance we are leaving them now. That is why I'm sitting here tonight. I have lots of experience in education. I've spent more than 2 decades in public education specifically. I began as a classroom teacher, and I've basically taught all aspects of and virtually every role from K through 12. Today, I serve as a K through 12 Committee on Special Education chairperson, which means I sit down at the table where some of the hardest, most consequential decisions about children get made. I hold a doctorate in transformational leadership, and I've learned across all of those roles that a school district works best when 3 things are true: when families trust the people making the decisions, when those decisions are made in the open, and when someone's willing to ask the uncomfortable questions on behalf of each and every child, not just the ones whose parents already know how to ask. I'm running because I believe Cold Spring Harbor can do all of these things even better than we already do. Sorry. I'm running because I believe Cold Spring Harbor can do all of these things even better. If you elect me to the board, here's what I can bring to you. 1, first, transparency. Parents and taxpayers should not have to decode a budget or chase down an answer. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sure. Lisa, could you do this? Oh. Okay. First, transparency. Parents and taxpayers should not have to decode a budget or chase down an answer. Decisions about programs, staffing, and spending should be explained in plain language in the public before they're final, not then after. Second, accountability. We should be honest about what is working in our schools and equally honest about what isn't. I will push for measurable goals, real follow-through, and a board that reports back to its community on outcomes, not just their intentions. And third, expertise. I know how a school district actually runs from start to finish, from K through 12.
Mary,
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
am I over?
I'm going to have to stop you. You're at your time. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'm Mary
Thank you.
Redden.
Thank you for that. Thank
No
you, Mary.
problem.
Scott?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the Central Parents Council for hosting us all and for all of you coming out tonight. It's your collective commitment to and our love for the schools as community members that brings us all together today. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Scott Kaufman. My wife, Elise, and I are both Cold Spring Harbor alumni, having attended our schools K through 12 and graduating in 2007. Today, we are also parents of 2 young children. Our son, Leo, is a first grader, and our daughter, Sarah, will be entering pre-K next year. Just as these schools shaped much of Elise's and my life, they will continue to shape the lives of our children over the next 15 years. I ran 2 years ago stating that I wanted excellence for every student. As the only candidate with 2 kids at the beginning of their educational journey, I run today for the exact same reason. Cold Spring Harbor schools offer the best educational experience on Long Island for every student, and they should continue to do so. Over the past 2 years, I have volunteered as a class parent and more recently with the Goose Hill Parent-Teacher Group. And what continues to blow me away is the passion our parents show for our schools, the energy they pour into making our schools the magical places they are every day. And of course, the deep partnership with our faculty. Parents working alongside principals, teachers, custodial staff, and cafeteria staff, and others to ensure everything from Earth Day to school dances go off without a hitch. This collaborative spirit, everyone working toward the same goal of delivering excellence for our students, is what has always made our schools exceptional. Today, this very spirit is under pressure. We are all aware of the contract issues that have continued for almost 2 years. Our kids are aware of them too. My son asks what fair contract now means when he sees it on his first grade teacher's t-shirt. Regardless of how we got here, restoring a collaborative spirit between the board, the faculty, and the administration is paramount to our district's continued success. I am grateful to the existing board members up here for all they have done for this district. But change is necessary to restore trust, move on, and get us back to where everyone can be working toward one shared goal, delivering the best possible education to every student who walks through our doors. Cold Spring Harbor has always been at its best when every part of our community is working together for our students. So with that, I humbly request your vote to be a trustee on the Cold Spring Harbor Board of Education.
Thank you, Scott. Bill?
Good evening. I'm Bill Woolman. I'm a resident of Laurel Hollow since 2011. I'm married, and can you hear me? Hello? All right, better.
Bill.
Sorry, I'm Bill Woolman from Laurel Hollow. I'm married. We moved here in 2011, and I had 2 boys come through the entire system, graduating in 2023 and 2025. It has been an honor and very rewarding to serve on the BOE for the past 3 years. We have an excellent team, and we work towards the same goals at all times. During that time, we've accomplished a lot of things together. We really, as a first measure, put transparency at the forefront 3 years ago when we started recording all the meetings and publishing them. We got a new leadership team in that the community trusts. We reduced class sizes so that almost every class is now under 20 students. We implemented an ICT program that benefits many of the students in the district. We also adopted a UPK program that helps families get acclimated with their pre-K children. And we also projected an unwavering defense of our local control of our school. And finally, we adopted student-focused goals, and that's the part that makes this job a lot easier, is thinking through the lens of what benefits students. I thoroughly enjoyed my service and giving back to this community. I recently retired after 37 years at FINRA, which is the financial regulator. So I bring financial expertise and extensive leadership experience, and I have a strategic mindset. Since I've retired, it's given me an opportunity to extend my service and expand my service in this role. So I expect to have more day-to-day involvement if I'm reelected and more time to dig deeper into the issues. This is why I'm asking you to give me a second term. I want to continue with my colleagues the important work we started. I hope to have a greater impact in the second term because, as you may or may not know, there's a steep learning curve in becoming a board member. And I want to continue to serve the community. So in essence, I want to finish what we started. So thank you, and I do want to thank the CPC, Kristen, Erin, and Megan, especially for running tonight, and I should have said that at the beginning. So thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much to the five of you. Before we begin, I just want to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones. If you need to take a call, please step out of the room. It's distracting to all of us up here. So we're going to go in order from those of you that put your names on the sign-in sheet over at the podium. I can't see a thing. If you still have additional questions, you're welcome to go and sign in at the back table. If you have questions during the event and you haven't had a chance to already write your name down, please go in the back. You can sign your name down and we'll put those in order in just a bit. Just a reminder that the event is being recorded and no other recording is permitted. Questions are limited to 25 seconds in order to accommodate as many participants as possible this evening. Just a reminder as well that the questions are only to be related to Board of Ed responsibilities. Questions may be directed to an individual candidate or to all the candidates. Although they're all permitted to answer, there will be no rebuttals, and we kindly ask that if a similar question has already been asked, you announce pass. So.
Okay, all right. So we have 17 signed up so far. So again, let's be mindful. And we would hate to stop. We want to get through everyone's questions. If we're hearing devices going off, we are going to just stop. So we're going to start with Stephanie Smith. Please state your name and your street address, ask your question, and then please return to your seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. First of all, my name is Stephanie Smith. Did you say street address? 25 Boughton Road, Lloyd Harbor. First of all, I want to thank the current board members, Lisa, Bill, Kate, for your service and everything you guys do. I know it's no small task, and there are a lot of accomplishments that sit at that table, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
This question is for Bill, Kate, and Lisa, and regarding the teacher's contract. Negotiations have spanned basically 2/3 of your term without resolution. What specific shifts in strategy do you propose to break this highly unusual 2-year impasse? And how will you ensure a final agreement is reached before the current school year ends? Thank you.
All right, I'll be the brave one and try to go first, or maybe the fool, I don't know. So first of all, thank you for the question. I don't think it's up to one side, right? Contracts are a negotiation. They're done on a good faith basis between the parties, and so neither side can say with certainty that anything will get done with a certain period of time. The second thing, this is not unusual. There have been other times where contracts have gone way longer. The prior contract that ended in 2020 actually extended 3 years past the prior contract. And this is not, this is specific to each group that we negotiate a lot of things. And so, for example, we recently negotiated with 3 other bargaining units, the nurses, the building and grounds crew, and the administrators like the principals. And each of those lasted 3, 7, and 2 sessions, so we can get things done. In this case, we've had 34 different meetings, not all with everybody, just different touch points with the HTA. And there's a lot of, we just went to a fact-finding report. So we hope that we're getting much closer on issues. And we announced prior to the fact-finding and then again last week that we are ready to sign the recommended contract that the fact-finder recommended, which agreed mostly with what we were proposing modified.
Thank you, Bill. Lisa? She asked if the three of you could answer, if you could.
Okay.
Sure.
I would, without repeating everything that Bill said, yes, we are ready to sign the proposal that the fact finder put together. We would like to reach an end to negotiations. We all want this to end, teachers, board members. It is, it's not an ideal situation, but it has happened before where teachers have worked without a contract. We have, we are trying, we are still in negotiations. We are trying to think of creative ways to, solve some of the sticking points. But really everything Bill has said. We are continuing negotiations, and we've met 34 times, and we want this to end as much as everybody else does.
Thank you, Lisa. Kate, did you want to mention something?
Yes, I definitely agree with everything Bill and Lisa said. The contracts are very important to me. As Bill said, we've met over 30 times. There's a lot to unpack in a contract. There's a lot of details. And as a teacher myself, I know about all those tiny little details that mean a lot to teachers, to kids, and to parents. So I'm remaining very positive that we'll get this done. And as Bill said, this has happened before. And so this isn't the first time in Cold Spring Harbor. It happens across New York. And, negotiations can be difficult. As Bill said, we have settled negotiations, contracts with building and grounds, with nurses, with admin, all within, I say, the most, I think, was 7 meetings. I think the admin we met with 2 or 3 times, so we know it can be done. I'm confident that through conversations and mutual respect that we can reach an agreement.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, I wanted to give Mary or Scott an opportunity to respond.
Sure, I can respond to that. So I think one thing I wanted to, that I don't think came through in my opener is professionally, so I work at PayPal and technology. Much of my job involves negotiating, frankly, multi-$100-million contracts, 5-year contracts, do it over and over again. I will say it's never taken 2 years, but I understand there's a lot of people involved here. My 2 cents of it is, in my experience, the challenges arise when the 2 parties no longer feel the other party is necessarily acting in good faith. It's kind of a moot point who's right or who's wrong. What matters is the perception on behalf of each party. And at this point, having sat through the Cold Spring Harbor Teachers Association's meetings and spoken to both parents and teachers, I don't believe that the same group of people can continue to negotiate this contract, because my sense of it is that, unfortunately, the teachers no longer believe the board is necessarily acting in good faith. And I don't believe that's necessarily true. I think each party probably believes that about the other party. But my perception is that we need new people to move on from this, get this done, and restore trust between the board and the faculty so that we can all go on and essentially focus all of our time and energy on one thing, delivering the best education possible to our students, and not having to worry about these protracted contract negotiations.
Thank you, Scott. Mary?
Sure. Hi. I agree with a lot of what Scott just said. Having been on the other side, I'm a teacher for 23 years now and a chairperson. I understand exactly how the teachers feel in this situation. And the morale that has been affected by this is beyond, it's beyond something that we can just easily fix and then move forward. I do think that trust has been broken to a point in which, we're now at a head that neither are budging. And this is one of the sole responsibilities of a Board of Education, is to get these contracts signed. People talk about we've met 30 plus times. Well, have you met and negotiated 34 times? Negotiation means you're going back and forth. That's what negotiation means. Coming to the table and just saying that we met and sat down, that's not negotiating, that's stonewalling, right? Meeting, I think there is that disconnect between the verbiage and the words that we're using and bringing to the public, where I feel that is something that is missing. I, as an educator, I know what these words mean, but I want to know you do too, because a lot of times I do believe.
Thank you, Mary. I'm sorry. I have to cut
No
you
problem.
off. Just doing my job.
You can, no, I get it. I get it. I appreciate it. No problem.
Thank you for the 5 of you for answering that.
Next up is Jennifer Kahn.
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. Jen Kahn, 4 Beardsley Lane. Over the past decade, I have greatly appreciated any Board of Ed votes that were taken in full view of the community. For instance, I recall watching the board take an unusually public vote on tenure for a teacher I won't identify here, and the vote was not unanimous. And as it turns out, the minority probably feels vindicated about how they voted. So I have a 2-part question for the incumbents, since they are campaigning as a bloc. 1, on larger issues such as the contract stalemate, it's unclear to me whether you all feel similarly or whether you have a dissenting opinion. Is there something in official board policy that dictates whether you will take a public vote or whether you keep it shielded from the public? And 2, are there other big policy issues, not counting tenure votes, on which you 3 incumbents have disagreed in the past? Thank you.
Sorry, could you just repeat the first part? Not the whole thing, just part 1 of the question.
Sorry about that. On larger issues, such as the contract stalemate, it is unclear whether you all feel similarly or whether you have a dissenting opinion. Is there something in official board policy that dictates whether you will take a public vote so we all know where you stand individually, or whether you keep it shielded from the public?
Thank you. I went first last time, so.
Lisa,
I'm okay.
would you mind answering first this time?
With regard to contract negotiations, that is something we discuss in executive session, and we are still in the process of negotiations, so unfortunately, I can't really discuss that. As a board member, I stand behind the contract. That is what I will say about that. With regard to times I have disagreed with the board, there have been a few things I've disagreed on in public. I have disagreed on the choices program. I thought this was something that the teachers were asking for, and I felt that if the teachers were asking for it and they felt it was beneficial to our students, that was something then that we should give them. I disagreed on the hold harmless policy for the Regents exams. I feel that I felt that after the teachers survey and surveying the real world experience, I thought that Regents should count for at least something. Otherwise, we're not really preparing our students for the real world. I also disagreed on when we voted to support the NYSBA resolution for reinstating the religious exemption for vaccines. I voted against I voted against reinstating the religious vaccine, but I am a board member, and so regardless of my personal opinion, I have to support what the board decides.
Thank you, Lisa. Kate, did you want to respond?
Sure. So in terms of a public vote, all votes are taken in public. We're not allowed to take votes can you hear me? In executive session. So tenure, there's a process to tenure, and the teachers that are up for tenure are brought to the board, and we trust that they're making the right, they're giving us what they see in the classrooms, and then we vote in public. I think it's healthy for a board to disagree on certain topics. I think that's what makes us, a board that works well together. We don't have to see eye to eye on everything. And, but I have to say, I'm proud of our board. We all get along very well. And even when we don't always agree on something, we're always able to come, to a good decision. And like Lisa said, it's the majority. So with 7 board members, you need a majority to get things through. So Jen, like you said, yes, there can be a minority like you saw in the tenure vote, and then it doesn't go through, but they're always taken in public because you guys deserve to see what we think and how we vote.
Thank you, Kate. Bill, did you want to mention something?
Yeah, sure, thank you. I won't repeat what Kate said as much as I can, or Lisa, but it is important to know all votes are public, and so when you see us come back from an executive session, we will always say no action was taken. The votes, once they come to the board, are done in public, they're on the agenda, and so that is full transparency. Additionally, talking about transparency, like since we started 3 years ago, we have way more open dialogue, and you even hear us disagreeing at meetings. That doesn't mean we may vote in the end differently, but we work through the issues like any reasonable people do. And sometimes we do vote differently on issues. So specific to me, I know, for example, I voted against the traffic light. My reasoning wasn't that I didn't want a nice traffic light. I thought the traffic situation was horrible. I thought the money was outrageous. Luckily, the estimate that we had was greatly exaggerated, and the traffic light came in way lower, so I would change my vote right now if I had to. So, but I agree with wholeheartedly. Like, the idea of people just coming in and rubber stamping it is not the way to do things. I truly believe we should be debating each other, engaging in dialogue, disagreeing where needed, and then coming to a resolution and moving on. And I think we do that really well as a team.
Thank you, Bill. I wanted to give Mary and Scott an opportunity to respond. Mary, did you want to say something? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Oh, really quickly. Mr. Monastero just texted me. He said that is a black Porsche SUV with its lights on in the parking lot. License plate LRP 1997. Okay, let's continue.
Okay, Jocelyn Wank. And I apologize if I...
Good evening. This is Jocelyn Wank, 175 Turkey Lane. This is a question for all of the candidates, please, both the incumbents and Ms. Redden and Mr. Kaufman. From the perspective of a school district, could each candidate please explain whether it is or is not fiscally beneficial for teachers' contracts to lapse? Thank you.
Kate, did you want to answer first?
Okay, so a teacher contract fiscally, can you say that again? Responsible. Thank you. Okay, so it's, that's a tough one, but thank you. So a teacher's contract is, even though it's technically, they didn't sign a new one for the next 5 years, New York State law is that the one that they have continues. And even though they are not getting the percentage increase per year that we offered them, they're still getting an increase in every year in their step. There is a percentage. even without having a new contract. That's how contracts work in New York State for teachers. So they're still continuing to get paid, they're still continuing to get their raises, they're still getting paid for any sports. Teachers who have longevity in the district are still getting their longevity pay, which is a good thing. They all deserve to get paid, and for all their hard work. So it is hard sometimes to build a budget around knowing what the future holds in terms of what the percentage is going to be, but thankfully, the district does a good job at making sure that we have the funds available, and it's stated that in the fact finder as well. We've never had a problem paying our teachers. So I think we're being very fiscally conservative, yes. I think that's very important to look out for our taxpayers, and whether there's a contract or not, we're always watching the budget and making sure that we're doing everything conservatively to watch out for all of the taxpayers.
Thank you. Lisa? We're going to go in order, Mary. No, you're fine.
Okay, that is a tough question. And I would say that I don't really think it is beneficial or not. Like Kate said, the teachers are still getting paid based upon how many years they've been here. Those are their steps. They're still getting longevity. They're still getting paid the previous contract. And we are prepared to pay them for the time, for last year, for, we have, we're not wasting the funds. We, and the taxpayers aren't paying more, and it's not really making a difference financially whether or not the teachers have a contract at this point.
Thank you, Lisa. Mary?
So technically, I don't agree with that. I do believe that it is fiscally irresponsible to continue to allow these contracts to lapse. Contracts are going to eventually be signed at some point. It is the main goal of the Board of Education to get contracts to be signed. Yes, these people are getting steps. However, their cost of living, they don't get that, and they haven't for 2.5 years, which in a climate like we have now, with inflation as it is, that is a huge cut to their pay salary. So what happens when districts begin to allow these contracts to lapse? You can say one of two things. You can talk about the immediate money, or you can talk about the long-term span in which we're providing from the budget, which always tends to be more than it would had we allowed those contracts to not lapse. So it actually brings a much bigger question into the picture. And, the money you're saving, you're going to have to pay back retroactively. That's just one of the rules. So I'm going to see that zero, and I'm going to say it is not fiscally responsible to allow contracts to lapse.
Thank you, Mary.
No problem.
Scott?
Sure. I would say, look, signing a bad contract is fiscally irresponsible, right? I think we can all hopefully agree on that premise. That being said, I've seen what we're negotiating over. I think, to be honest with you, we're nearly 2 years into a place where we should not be at the table still. These are not big issues. They should not take so long to get to the middle. We're talking about 30 minutes of extra time. This is not like, we're not talking about things that are insurmountable. Now, where it does become financially irresponsible is when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees in a given year, which we are doing, right? Where we're budgeting hundreds of thousands of dollars of more legal fees next year to pay lawyers instead of paying teachers, which to me is bananas. $700,000, or even if you said $200,000, would practically get, we should not be spending money and continuing to spend money to fight our teachers. That's what we're doing. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight our teachers versus just spending the money, right? Get to the point of, okay, great, we all want to educate our kids. We want a great contract. And what's going to end up happening is we're going to start seeing our property values potentially suffer relative to other neighboring districts, right? We're nowhere near, like the tax thing, we're always kind of under, like, our taxes are fine. Like the board has been doing a great job from that perspective, which is great, right? Keeping taxes within reason and not meeting the tax levy. But that being said, you know, I think at this point it is fiscally responsible. We're spending money on things we don't need to spend money on. We should spend money on educating our kids.
Time. Thank you, Scott.
Great. Am I allowed to add or no? No problem.
Sorry, Mary.
Oh, it's okay. I understand.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, so the question was, is it financially beneficial to allow the contract to lapse? So I will answer that. It depends on the final contract. So if we grant back pay as a negotiating point, then there is no benefit there. In fact, we're losing benefit because one of the provisions is more contribution towards the health care. And so the district has now for almost 2 years paid a bigger portion of the health care bill. In terms of, you know, I keep hearing this theme of like lawyers, like we're not paying hundreds of thousands for negotiating this contract. There are a lot of lawyers doing a lot of things, including trying to get back money we're owed for the CVA settlements, FOIL requests that come in through the district. So we have a lot of lawyers on staff. And, you know, finally, in terms of, you know, it's not a fiscal issue. The issue is what benefits the children. And if you look at the issues that we're trying to resolve in the contract right now, it's not really money. It's we value the children and we want to give them things like extra help and give them the ability to learn, fulfill our goal of maximizing their education. And so that is what the issues are right now with the contract. There's no real financial issue right now.
I can't say anything more. Oh, sorry. Okay, no problem.
Sorry, Mary.
No, I get it. I get it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Chris Hodendreas.
Hello, board. Hello, sorry about that. My name is Chris Hodgendreas. I live at 1592 Laurel Hollow Road. And my question is for everybody up on the stage. It's in regards to one of the main sticking points that I've been told is one of the main sticking points in the teacher negotiation with the contract that we've been talking about tonight. Now, I have 3 kids. 2 of them graduated, and one of the big problems that I had as a parent was dealing with teachers that didn't offer extra help. I was told when I asked that this is something that they're supposed to do, and I know this has been a big sticking point in the contract. And I'm wondering, is making it mandatory, is that what is going to fix this, or is that one of the problems with, like, is that where the disconnect is? If you know, if the teacher offered extra help, but they don't have to, again, I would like to see it as something that's mandatory. Do you as a board member, or do you as someone running to be a board member want to see it mandatory that teachers have to offer extra help to our children?
Thank you, Chris.
Can I answer that?
We're
Or no?
going to go in order. We're going to start with
problem.
work.
Gotcha.
So, yes,
We
so
got it over here.
Chris, with that being, just because as we know, it's in the fact finder report, just be mindful that the Board of Ed incumbents are only able to speak on information that's been out in the fact finder report.
That was out in the fact finder. No, it was out.
But in terms of whether or not it is considered mandatory is, I think we might need to rephrase that question.
Okay.
Thanks for
Okay,
understanding, Chris. I
so
appreciate it.
Let me try and rephrase this on the fly here. So basically, forget if it is mandatory or not, I don't know. I was told that they're supposed to offer extra help. Would you, as a board member, want it to be mandatory? Are they allowed to say that?
What's maybe
A rule?
I think,
That's a rather straightforward question.
I think it's an opinion, yeah. I think it's not regards to the teachers' contracts. And if you are uncomfortable responding, please feel free to pass. Okay?
We're going to start with Lisa, please.
Yes, so as stated in the fact finder report, the teachers previously had said that they would do extra help before, after, during school, upon request as needed. And we are asking for it to be mandatory, and before or after school, 30 minutes. We recognize that extra help is a vital part of a student's education, and it has always been included in the contract. We're requesting that extra help be more accessible and regularly scheduled for our students and our parents. And some students may not have a free period, so they can't do during the day extra help. Some students don't know how to ask for extra help. Some students just like to sit there and let the other people ask the questions for extra help. I've seen teachers that say, ask me when needed. And don't get me wrong, our teachers are amazing. And more often than not, if you asked a teacher for extra help, they would be more than happy to give it. But some children just don't know how to ask or don't feel comfortable in that situation. And so we are asking for before school, after school, at a designated time, so they can sit there, so they know they can always be there, just to make it more equitable for everybody.
Thank you. Lisa, Mary?
Yes, I'd like to talk about extra help. I've done extra help both ways. The ways in which you have a scheduled Tuesday, Thursday from 2 to 3. I can on it from my own experience of 23 years. That does not work. Yes, you should have an extra help protocol within, and I have had teachers in this district who take their own time to call me and say, I'd like to work with either one of my children after school today. Can she come? Yes, that's beautiful. When I went to my principal and said, this does not work, they don't come between, Tuesday, Thursday, 2 to 3. They have sports, they have clubs. We give tests and quizzes on different days of the week. They love to come before quizzes. They love to come before tests. That's when I start to have my extra help. It's based on the needs of the student. It is not based on the need of when the district tells them so, okay? You think it's going to be better, it actually makes it worse. When I went to my principal and asked him, they're not coming during these 2 days. Well, then you have this number of minutes. You can divide it amongst the Monday through Friday, however you see fit, and however the child needs it. This is about children's needs, not about what the board thinks the teacher should do.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Scott?
Oh, sure. So good question. Obviously, I think extra help is critical, right? Students have different needs. Some will obviously require more assistance than others. I heard a lot about the sort of, what does good extra help look like? I think my answer is the following. Extra help is absolutely critical. Teachers should be required to offer extra help, right? That should be a requirement of their job. Does that mean that we tell them that they have to sit for 30 minutes every Tuesday after school to wait for kids to show up, including gym teachers, including band teachers? No, that seems like a draconian measure that doesn't particularly seem like it's getting at the goal. What I think we do need to ensure is that we have the right policies and protocols in place such that if a student is not getting the extra help that they need, that we are able to ensure that that teacher is held accountable to giving the extra help, right? And holding up their end of the bargain. So what I believe about all of this is extra help is critical. I think the students, the board, and the faculty could easily arrive at a model that makes sense for our students, for the parents, and for the faculty, in a way that offers the extra help that's needed for our students without requiring a random draconian measure of 30 minutes once a week. So teachers are professional, they know what their students need, they know what their classrooms need, and let's let them take control and ensure that our students are getting extra help in a way that makes sense for them and their students.
Thank you,
Agreed.
Scott.
Nice job, Scott.
Kate?
Yes, that's a good question. I think there's a little bit of confusion over the extra help. So currently, extra help is in our contracts, but it's really up to the teacher's discretion. So it's hard for administration to be able to enforce something when it's up to the teacher's discretion. So I think they're trying to, solidify that a little bit more, and like Lisa said, make it a little bit more equitable so that kids have more access to extra help before and after school. And Mary, I just wanted to say that we are not making the teachers pick a day and stick to that day. If they have we have told them it is completely up to them. It's on their terms. They have a test on Friday, they can tell the kids my extra help's on Friday. The next week, they might say, you know what, my extra help is going to be on Tuesday. It's completely up to them. It's the problem is doing it during the day. A lot of the kids, like my daughter next year, will have a packed schedule. She's not going to have one free period. She absolutely cannot go to extra help during the day. So we're trying to make this something that we maybe as parents won't have to be hiring tutors all the time, because we know our kids can get to extra help. Where I work in Half Hollow Hills, we have a 90-minute mandate. Again, it's flexible. It's up to the teachers what day they want to do it, but it's 90 minutes outside of the school day. And as it states in the fact finder, that is very common in Jericho, in North Shore, in Manhasset. It's teacher responsibility.
Thank you.
Could I respond? She did open the door for him. No problem.
Mary,
Keep
maybe
going.
in your closing statements?
Oh, sure, that's
Thank
a
you.
great idea.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh, no, Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, I'm
I was
sorry.
looking, I'm like, please don't forget
I'm
me.
sorry.
So I'm glad we all agree extra help is an important thing for the children. Kate is right. It's in our contract from years ago, and we had asked for teachers to give specific dates and times because we know the current system is not working, and we were told put it in the contract. So that's where we are now. We're trying to put it in the contract. We looked at every other comparable school district in this area, and every one of them has mandated before school or after school, and in most cases 45 or 60 minutes a week. We are asking for 30 minutes a week. We just want it publicized. There's a process where it can be changed if it doesn't work. In terms of sports or other interference, that is not the case. Our sports schedules allow for practices to start at 3 o'clock, so there's time after school so students can go for extra help. And I would hardly describe this as a draconian ask, right? All we're saying is just please tell us when you're going to do it. And just as one real-world example, there's a wonderful teacher, Mrs. Lantieri. She's a math teacher here, and she is very good about posting when and where she will offer extra help. And she gets so many kids. She actually gets kids from other sections of math who don't even have her because they are really seeking this help. And I can tell you from having 2 kids that came through the district, we would say, when is extra help? And they don't know. So all we're asking is for some common sense here.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, next up is Brenna Benvenuti.
My question is for all the candidates. In my 23 years in public education at Half Hollow Hills, I have never experienced a lapse contract. What I have observed is that a district's excellence is sustained not just by the volume of applicants it receives, but by its ability to attract and retain the most highly sought-after talent. From the perspective of neighboring districts, our labor climate and culture have become a significant part of our reputation. Knowing that elite educators prioritize stability when choosing where to build a career,
One, how do you believe prolonged unresolved negotiations impact our ability to remain a top choice district? And two, are you concerned that the message being sent to educators across Long Island right now might compromise our long-term reputation for excellence?
So I'm just going to ask, because there were 3 questions in there. Let's just try to keep it to
One question, please.
about essentially, Brenna, help me if I'm wrong, teacher acquisition and teacher retainment. Is that fair? Is that fair? Okay.
Thank you. We're going to start with Mary.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again?
I'm just going to, just for the sake of time, it's
Sure.
about pretty much just making sure about keeping teacher acquisition and teacher retainment based on the, and I'm sorry, Brenna, if I'm and concern about our reputation
As a district?
As a district.
Okay, yes.
In terms about teacher acquisition, teacher retainment.
Yes, teacher retainment, that goes hand in hand with your property values, you know. In districts where their contracts do not lapse, and in districts where teachers stay from start to finish. A lot of teachers want to go and get a job in their beginning in the career, and then they usually stay there if they're happy through 30 years later. That's why people move to these districts. That's why people move here. You know, if you look at other districts that are suffering in terms of teacher attrition, it's not the money, it's because they are burnt out and they don't want to stay where it is that they are. So where we have a strong district is one where your teachers stay from start to finish. And that is just whether you like it or not, your property values are married to teacher attrition. That's a common fact that has been researched over and over again. Those are stable communities and stable schools. They are the ones that they have teachers start in K through 12. Teachers will leave and they will take pay cuts to go elsewhere. I was one of them. I left a district I wasn't happy with and took a pay cut to go to one I am extremely happy with. This is also a well-known fact, and it is research. You can research it.
Thank you, Mary.
No problem.
Thank you. Lisa.
Sorry. So to answer your question, I'm not really concerned about teacher attrition. 60% of our teachers have been in the district for at least 15 years. We just awarded tenure to 9 incredible faculty members. We are constantly getting applicants on OLAS for our open positions. We even had our STEM director left and then came back to be the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction. So she had already been here once and left and came back. So I'm not concerned about a reputation. I think that we have a stellar reputation. This is a great place to work. We have wonderful teachers. We have a wonderful administrative team. And yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. Kate?
Hi, yes. Okay, so I think like any job, if you're not happy, you leave, right? But as you can see on page 5 in the fact-finding report, we do not have teachers leaving. Even in our history, when we've had a lapse in contracts, teachers did not leave. As Lisa said, we have hundreds of applications every time we post a job. And the last few rounds of interviews that we did with administration, the first thing they say in the interview is how bad they want to work in Cold Spring Harbor. In fact, a colleague of mine came to me, her son was thinking of switching from a school in Nassau County. She said, oh my goodness, I can't believe what Cold Spring Harbor pays. And so we're known for our reputation of excellence, good pay, excellent professional development to keep our teachers on the top of their game. And in my 3 years on the board, we've never, I can't speak for before that, but we've never had anyone turn down a job. Any job that we've offered someone, they've accepted it. We've never had anyone turn down a job, whether it be a teacher or an administrator. And so, yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all. I think teachers are happy to work here. I think people want to work here. I think we have a great reputation, and we hope to keep it that way.
Thank you, Kate. Bill?
Yeah, this community, the board, everybody, we all value these teachers very much. And especially if you just look at some of the ways that we show the love to them. You know, I know the CPC and the PTGs are very active at supporting the teachers. I know after the West Side school fire, these groups help teachers get back to set up their classrooms the right way. We're constantly getting these PTG and CPC bring food in all the time to make the teachers feel welcome and loved, and so I don't think it's an issue. We have a number of teachers who are here, as both Kate and Lisa said. 56% are here more than 15 years, but we have almost 80 teachers who are here more than 20 years, and including one teacher who was excessed and who has now been here 40 years, but was excessed and then decided to come back when we had an opening. So we have lots of draw here, including a lot of teachers who have left tenure at other schools, which is a very big deal to come to Cold Spring Harbor. So I think we'll be fine. This is not the first time we've negotiated a contract. So.
Thank you, Bill. Scott?
Yeah, so I don't totally agree, obviously, because that's why I'm up here. I'm sure that I'm sure that we've retained awesome teachers. All the teachers in the school are fantastic, right? I mean, not all of them, but almost all of them are fantastic, right? Everyone, I mean, they're truly exceptional teachers, but I do want to dispel a few things. We are not the highest paid teachers on Long Island. By median salary we are, but that's based on their tenure. Our pay scales are not the highest pay scales on Long Island, so we should immediately stop saying that our teachers are the highest paid. They're the most experienced teachers on Long Island, which equates to the highest pay. They are not the highest paid from a pay scale perspective. We are hearing from the teachers directly that they are unhappy. I am unclear how we can sit up here and say all the teachers are extremely excited to work here and really pumped when we are listening to many teachers tell us over and over and over again that 8 years ago they worked into a different environment than they walk into today. We had a superintendent who joined in October and left in January because he said that it wasn't really, he didn't feel his skills were being appropriately utilized or the community backed him. There are McKinsey studies which actually say that compensation is one factor, but the most important factor for teacher retention and acquisition is community support and feeling like you have professional discretion. 30 minutes extra help mandate, telling teachers they don't know what's good for their students. Correct. What they do know is that the board knows, apparently, they require to offer 30 minutes. Well, that's not community support. That's not valuing someone who's been teaching for 20 years and probably knows what their students need.
Without a doubt.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, next up, Harper Benvenuti.
Good evening. I'm Harper Benvenuti of 2 Coon Hall Road. I'm a freshman, and 2 years of this contract fight is half of my high school experience. I see my teachers showing up every day and trying to keep things normal, but we can all feel that something has changed. It feels like they're stuck and is affecting our whole school. I know that each of you promised to serve with the students and educators of this district in mind, so I would hope you understand the effect that the absence of this contract has had on the educational environment that you value at our schools. You say teachers are happy here, but is that why my teachers are wearing working without a contract shirts to schools every day? Since what's been done hasn't worked, what is one thing that each of you will do differently on day one? What will be your strategy to improve the school environment so we know this won't just continue? Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you. We're going to start with Scott.
Yeah, I think it starts with a conversation, right? It starts with restoring some goodwill between the board and the teachers and ensuring that everyone is working toward the same goal. Again, I I don't think any of these issues are insurmountable. The devil is in the details, I am sure, right? But we could all probably get together in a room for 4 hours and figure this out. Like, it's been done before. This is not an insurmountable problem. Other districts don't seem to have this challenge.
Right.
And it is the main responsibility of the board to get teacher contracts done. Over 2 years without a contract is an abdication of that responsibility. So what I would do on day one is I would go and actually talk to the teachers and say, look, we all have a similar goal. Let's align on the framework and that goal that we're trying to get to. Here are the outstanding items that we can agree on. Let's just come up with creative solutions to get to that point and figure it out, right? The problem we can't come up with these creative solutions is because neither side actually thinks the other side is working to get to a reasonable outcome. Frankly, both parties think they're getting screwed, and that's not a good outcome to have, right? At the end of the day, this contract is going to get signed, the teachers are going to walk away, and they're still going to have a bunch of battle scars and think that they're not backed up by the board, right? What we want to do is reverse that and say, no, the board fully respects the teachers, you respect the professional discretion, you respect the 20 years on average that you're bringing to your craft, and we want to work with you to ensure we're delivering the best education, not talk about minutia of how we're going to deliver that and argue with you about 30 minutes of extra help.
Great job.
Thank you, Scott. Bill?
Yeah, so these are hard questions because it puts us in a position where it makes it sound like we don't value the teachers. And so we value these teachers. Like, we are very proud of our district. We are very proud of all the things that we achieve. We were made a platinum AP school in 2025, and that's directly because we have wonderful teachers. But, you know, what I don't understand is, why can teachers show up to a board meeting and why can they protest, but they can't give 30 minutes a week in extra help? Because if they gave that, it would be over.
No.
I'm sorry, please don't interrupt.
Oh, my problem.
Yeah, please.
I'll
We're going
turn
to
it
let
off.
everybody have their, time to say what they
problem.
have to say, please. No rebuttals. Thank you. No interruptions.
Now I've lost my train of thought, but, you know, to be honest, like, these negotiations are two-sided. You should probably have asked some of these questions at the teacher information session. And other districts, by the way, don't have this problem because every district offers scheduled extra help. And so I can't emphasize that enough. We are catching up to what every other district does in a way that benefits the students. And so I don't understand why this is perceived as such a hard thing.
Thank you, Bill. We're going to have Mary respond next, please.
I have a question about extra help. Has there ever been any surveys sent out to the community asking how they felt about extra help, or whether they thought that their child wasn't getting the services they need? And if so, what were the responses? Does anyone know? Oh, there's nothing been. Okay, so there is. Oh, yeah. So I think, or a suggestion would be perhaps making sure that the community is as involved in the decisions that the Board of Ed is making, or things that are being negotiated from the contracts. You know, as a board, we have to work together. You have to work with we have to make sure that we're collaborating with the teachers, with the Board of Ed, and that collaboration needs to be done in a way in which everybody has a say, and then we can all come to the table and make a collaborative decision. Extra help is kind of a thing that I don't believe should hold up a contract negotiation for 2.5 years. You know, there are many ways to do extra help. So, you know, it seems silly considering how much damage is being done with that contract not being signed, for us to continue talking about extra help.
Thank you, Mary. Kate.
Okay, so there's a lot of talk about negotiations in good faith, right? And as a board, we honor that. We take it very seriously. So negotiating in good faith means that we cannot speak about things that go on behind closed doors. The teachers do, and you're hearing one side of the story. We love our teachers, and I want to assure you, Scott, that whenever I've been in a negotiating session with the teachers, it's always very respectful. No one's yelling, no one's arguing. We're all trying to get to the same place. And as a teacher myself, I hear what they're saying, and I actually feel that I have very good conversations with the teachers. And I also have to respect the taxpayers in the district, right? I have to think about what's best for the kids. There's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors that people aren't seeing, but we absolutely care about teacher morale, and I think the morale is also within this district. I mean, the fire at West Side School showed the most incredible morale that I've ever seen in community spirit, right? The day after the PTG had food, they had Teacher Appreciation Week. There was another unbelievable spread of food, and their teachers deserve that, and they deserve to get paid. So I don't want this to sound, I feel like you're kind of like twisting this into sounding like we're fighting with them. I don't feel that way at all, actually. I enjoy sitting with them and hearing what they want, bringing it back to the board. And it's also hard because, it's hard to get everybody together. So sometimes it does get dragged out.
Thank you, Kate.
It's never disrespectful.
Thank you.
Me.
Lisa.
Me. Hi. So just to answer your question, Mary, about if a survey was done, in the fact-finding report, the union points to the district's own survey that showed that 72% of parents report that teachers provide extra help when needed. That means 28% did not. That's a lot. That's almost a quarter. It's more than a quarter. I don't know.
Let's let Lisa respond.
I just know what's in the fact finder report.
Thank you.
Look, we have amazing teachers, and we think, they certainly deserve to be compensated fairly. And like Bill said, we wanted structured, publicized, 30-minute extra help from day one. And we reflected that in the salary increase. We are not asking them to do it for free. And we are, as far as what I'm going to do, day one, if I get reelected, I'm going to continue to try and negotiate with the teachers because I do want to get this done. We've started thinking, we've thought of creative solutions to sort of figure this out. We're working with the teachers, maybe we can, exchange time for something else, but we're still in the middle of negotiations, so we can't really discuss much. But we do want to compensate our teachers fairly. They deserve it.
Thank you, Lisa. We're going to move on to one more question, then we're going to take the candidates and my board are going to take a very quick break. But I want to just ask everybody to put your name down on here just to rethink your questions in your head. If you're thinking that your questions are going to be a little bit repetitive on things that we've spoken about already, let's move on to other topics. And we're going to call up
Daniel Selling.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Bye, Daniel.
All right, so, we'll take one. What? 16 questions. Mandy Dalal.
And then we go ladies' room.
My name is Mandy Dalal. I'm at 5 Pippin Lane. I'm going to totally switch gears, though I feel strongly about the teacher contracts as well. But Candidate Della Caprini, you mentioned in your opening statements that getting club sports added to our budget was one of the things that you were most proud of in your first term. I'd like to ground this question in a recent example. Many families experienced confusion around the hockey evaluations for rising 6th and 7th graders, particularly regarding communication, access to information, and whether everyone had the same opportunity to participate. My question is, how will you ensure that all school-related programs and decisions are communicated and structured with full transparency and equal access so that no group, formal or informal, has an advantage? And when concerns like this arise, what specific steps will you take to review the process and restore trust across the broader community?
Okay, thank you for asking that. So I think the problem with hockey is that it was a club sport. Well, So club sports were treated differently than, because they were paid for by the parents, so we were able to, because we had an outpouring of community members asking to include it in the budget, which we did, took the financial burden off the families. You're right, I think it needs to be, the athletic director needs to send out notifications as if it's now a team sport. So last year, my son was a rising sixth grader. I actually didn't know about the evaluations. Someone, it was like last minute, I was actually away at the time. I was in Normandy with the district, and someone said, oh, you know, I'll see you tonight or whatever. To me, I'm over in Normandy. I'm like, what's tonight? So you're right, there is a bit of confusion. And I've actually, if you want to ask what steps I've already taken, is that I spoke to our superintendent and I said, the emails need to go through Parent Square. I realize they are not. Thank you for bringing it to our attention, is not going through Parent Square, and I don't know why. I think it's because it was being treated as a club sport, which the district wasn't paying for. Now we are, and we should be highlighting everything for that sport, just like we would with track or soccer or lacrosse, the same way. And I agree, I feel very out of the loop with that because it wasn't coming through on Parent Square. And also, thankfully, that's something my husband takes care of, so I don't normally even read the sports.
Thank you, Kate.
You know, so it's confusing. I agree with you.
Do any of the other candidates, would any of you like to answer this or to respond to this before we break? 10-minute break. Okay, can everybody please be seated? We're going to continue. Hurry up, Megan. Thank you. Thank you. Lisa.
Alyssa.
Okay, so we're going to continue. We have 8 questions remaining. I'm going to remind everyone to keep it civil. I have the right to throw you out. I'm teasing. I'm tired. Keep your cell phones off, please, and be respectful to each other. If you get a call, please step out.
We're going to ask as well just a couple of things. One is, while a candidate is responding, if the other candidates can please turn off their microphones. We are, again, reminding there are no rebuttals. We are also going to ask the candidates to be respectful of the questions that are being asked, and that if in your best interest, can you please try to respond to the question? As we said, about 8 questions left, and I'm sure they are on a variety of topics. So I would love to hear everyone's opinions on that. So with that being said, Anna Maib. Is Anna still here?
No?
No?
Okay.
Okay, 7. Oh, actually, that's not entirely true. So there are questions in the back. Erica Pappas.
Hello, I'm Erica Pappas from Snowball Drive, and my question is for all of the electees. And my question is, what do you believe is the biggest challenge currently facing the special education department? Additionally, if elected, how do you plan to support the department in your role as a board member?
Bill, can I start with you?
Yes, sure. And I'm going to try to get closer because I think I'm always loud enough, but my microphone keeps cutting out. So in terms of special ed, we definitely need to, so as we said, we implemented the ICT program, which we think was a big win. We have to complete that by getting it all the way down to the 2nd grade level. But we think that's a huge win. We also have to replace Dr. Schemp, who's retiring, and so the selection of of a special ed director is going to be a very important part of what we do. So I think it's pretty straightforward, but I'm hopeful that we'll do a good job with that.
Can I have Scott?
Sure. So honestly, as an elected, if we were to be elected, I think what's most important is looking at the needs of the students, understanding kind of best practices. I'll be honest, I don't have a background in special education, so I'm not going to sit up here and tell you here are the 5 things that are absolutely required for us to have a world-class special education program. But what I think is absolutely critical is, one, ensuring that we're getting the best possible talent to teach those students, ensuring that we're prioritizing those students' education just as much as we're prioritizing the education of every other student in our schools, and ensuring that we're employing the best possible practices to teach those students. So what I would say is, I don't have the answers right now, but what I would want to do if I were on the board is look at what are all the best practices out there and how do we benchmark ourselves against what the best possible educational outcomes are for all of those students.
Thank you, Scott. Lisa?
Sure. So I think that the biggest issue facing our special ed department is the turnover. I think we need unfortunately, Dr. Schimpf is retiring. Some other people in her office have left, for whatever reason they have decided, they have left. There are a lot of kids, these days more and more students have special needs. So it's great that, as a board, Bill, Kate, and I, we helped to expand the ICT program down to the elementary levels, but we need to really get the special ed department kind of in order. As board members, we can certainly look for the best and brightest. I know that right now we're in the process of screening a few candidates to be the director of special ed. And hopefully, this person is stellar, and if they're not, we'll go back to the drawing board. We have certainly turned away candidates that have, reached the end of the interview process and decided, that's just not good enough. Let's go back and see who else we can find. So we know that that's a big issue, especially for our parents who have students with special ed needs, IEPs, 504s. So we really need to focus on, just kind of cleaning up that department.
Thank you, Lisa. Kate?
Hello. Okay, so this is an area that that means a lot to me. When I ran 3 years ago, one of the things I ran on was strengthening our special ed department, and I am proud of how far we've come in 3 years. We did not have ICT classes at the elementary school. We started with part-time. Now we are full-time in most classes. I'm happy to say that we didn't have to transfer kids to different schools. Originally, we were talking about having to bus kids from West Side to Lloyd Harbor. We were able to hire teachers and figure that out. We also, I work, so I don't go to the SEPTO meetings, but I do get reports back from the administration. We like to work very closely with SEPTO because those parents are really in the know. They're in it with their kids. I know right now we have a very important hire of a new superintendent for special ed, and I think it's really important, and we continue to consistently involve teachers and parents in the screening process, and we take their feedback very seriously, and we take it into consideration when we're interviewing candidates. And again, like we've said before, keeping the class sizes lower has really helped those ICT classes, every class really, but it's another way that we are helping with the more small group teaching with the ICT and all classes really. So I hope to continue that. I am a very big advocate for the special ed program.
Thank you, Kate. Mary?
Sure. So I'm a special education teacher / K through 12 Committee on Special Education chairperson, and I've been involved in special education for 23 years across the gamut between early intervention all the way to grade 12. So, especially you have to look at hiring practices. Hiring practices mean more than anything else, and that's just not for special ed That's for everybody, obviously. But there are best practices in hiring where you could weed out and vet the people who you know are going to be a good candidate for these positions. Also, candidates need to, especially special ed candidates, have to have a background in teaching. It's hard when you hire people who are not, who have never been in the classroom, which does happen on the day, pretty much a lot in certain districts, and you're asking them to come into a special education program. That gets, there's generally, in my opinion, a lower level of candidate that you are accepting on your staff. The person who is right for the job is somebody who knows all about Part 200, knows all about the special ed continuum, is understanding of the related services like OT, PT, and those are services that should be on staff. All of those services, I know it's coming to an end, are essential for each special education student, and they should be in the forefront.
Thank you, Mary.
Ovid Yakel.
Orit Yakwell, Stillwell Lane. Thank you to all of you for the work you've done, are doing, and hope to do in the future for the district. This question is for each of you. Would you support a substantial review of how our K-12 curriculum teaches the historical roots of hate and hate symbols across grade levels? And what specifically would you want that review to examine? Thank you.
Thank you, Orit. Am I saying it right, Orit? So pretty. Mary, can we start with you?
Repeat that one more time. You were looking for, sorry, go one more time. Sorry about that.
Would you support a substantive review of how our K-12 curriculum teaches the historical roots of hate and hate symbols across grade levels? And what specifically would you want the review to examine? A reminder of an incident in Lloyd Harbor Elementary School this last week?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is something that has to come from the top. The Board of Education and the district superintendent need to work together in order to determine what it is that the teachers in the classrooms, how they are to handle situations like this. Training, especially in any situation, whether it's multicultural, whether it's religious issues. This is something that has to be brought to the table and discussed openly, and collaborate with all of the constituents to see how it is that we're going to address some of these things. It was horrible what happened, and more education, I think, for the people who are on the board as well as the people who are in charge of the schools. That as soon as we get that under control, or hopefully get a program together that will definitely seize, whatever issues in that respect come about, we can then start to implement or roll out these programs so that our students are getting the education they need, because a lot of them, I don't believe, have that from the school district.
Thank you, Mary. Can we have Kate's response next, please?
Sure. That's a really good question. Thank you for asking it. Yes, I absolutely think that this goes back to things that are coming down from the state in terms of how to teach history. One of the things that was presented to us 3 years ago was choices. That was extremely concerning to me. It erased Israel off the map. It presented to me a bit of a biased perspective. It suggested that 9/11 was the problem of the U.S. Basically, it was our own fault, and that it even you weren't even allowed to use the word terrorist. So to me, that was not a very balanced education. And I really thought the Remembrance Bowl was actually a really great way to bring real history about World War II to our students in grades K to 12, about what really happened in World War II, how the U.S. was instrumental in helping end that war and to help the world heal afterwards too, how we helped, war-torn cities in Europe after the destruction and sadness that went on there. And it also follows the Civic Seal of Readiness through New York State, that curriculum that was created. So I think it was a good step in the right direction. I am on the Professional Development Committee, and we were always looking for parents to get involved, especially if you have a background in this, in ways that we can bring curriculum and real history and teach our kids about, supporting everyone's religion, their beliefs in a respectful and real education, rather than having a one-sided, a one-sided curriculum.
Thank you, Kate. Bill?
Yeah, so definitely, life is about improving. A district can always improve. So I think asking questions about what are we doing already that's well, or where can we improve in that area around hate symbols and things that cause them is something we should think about. We already do, though, in many ways. I know when the attacks in Israel took place 18 months ago, we asked our head of curriculum and instruction to review where in the curriculum do we cover things like the Holocaust or other things. Kate mentioned, the Choices program. Every part of our social studies curriculum involves critical thinking. That's precisely, as Kate said, why we did not want to pick the Choices program for that addendum, because there were inaccuracies that were leading people and not letting them learn factual things and draw their own accurate conclusions. So I do think it's a good practice. We can do it, and should never take our eye off that ball.
Thank you, Bill. Lisa?
Yes. I think that we should constantly be reviewing the curriculum, see what's missing, see what's topical. Like Bill said, after the October 7th attacks on Israel, we started really looking into Holocaust programs. We invited in this year a Holocaust survivor that spoke with the students. I personally was a fan of Choices. I am a proud Jewish woman. I am aware that some of the views presented in the Choices program were anti-Semitic, racist, offensive, or just incorrect. But again, sometimes our teachers are looking for this information. We're striving for excellence. We want our children to be the best they can be, and we need to teach them how to be critical thinkers and learn how to discuss sensitive topics and viewpoints in a safe and secure environment. They need to be exposed to diverse points of view and life experiences, and this will help them to be part of an increasingly diverse and interconnected world. So I think that we need to expose our children to all of these things while we can, while they're safe.
Thank you, Lisa. Scott? Thank you, Lisa. Scott, please.
Sure. So my response to that would be, a hearty yes. I think in the light of what happened at Lloyd Harbor School, it's important that we do this substantive review. I think one of the reasons why is we do a lot of positive teaching around history, right? I think the Remembrance Bowl being an example of the U.S. being sort of this great stalwart of peace. Well, that's, I think what the incident in Lloyd Harbor sort of shows is that there are students in this school, for better or for worse, who just aren't aware of the impact of what they do or what they say as it relates to people that they might not interact with on a daily basis. So I think we can all be honest, right? We're not the most diverse school district in the world, right? People don't necessarily know what impact words have on people of different races, people of different colors, religions, etc. They think it's a joke because nobody is there necessarily to tell them that it's not a joke. So when you see people writing the N-word or writing a swastika, I'm sure that sixth grader is not an evil person, right? That sixth grader just literally has no idea the actual impact that has on the community members and the school teachers, and how that can actually make people fearful for not only their safety, right, but for the safety of their friends and their family. And that certainly, I'm sure, was not the intent of whoever that student who did that. So my perspective is we need to be teaching students not only about all of the positive of diversity, but also all of the adverse impacts of what happens when you do start to do hateful things and see hateful things, and where that hate really comes from, and the history of, you know, the N-word in this country, for example, and why it's such a horrible thing that we can never sort of say. The kids just aren't going to intrinsically understand that or intuitively understand that.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay. So we're just going to be mindful. So it is 9 o'clock now, and our last question will be at 9:20. So again, I'm just going to remind you, if your name is called and your question has already been kind of asked, kindly ask for you to pass to let us try to get through everyone. With that being said, Mark Italiani.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Italianti, 430 Woodbury Road. First of all, to all of you, thank you for doing what you're doing. I can personally say it is a lot of work. Spend 3 hours a day on this district, and as you well know, there's no paycheck, so you really have to want to do it. Thank you for your answers tonight. It's been interesting. I know the three incumbents, what they think on this topic, so I'm focusing on Mr. Kaufman and Dr. Redden. Backgrounds, 2 decades in education, and a consultant to managing or large contracts and large companies. So it would seem not that daunting to figure out this teacher's contract, which has been an issue. And I certainly didn't join the board to stick it to the teachers. I got to tell you, it's a partnership. It's a win-win if they're happy and our students have the services, and I think you share that as well.
Mark, I'm sorry, can you
I'm
just get
getting
to
to
the
it.
question? Thank
Yep,
you so much.
Thank you. So I heard our pay is maybe not where it needs to be, and I heard we shouldn't mandate extra help. And here's the question. So what contract in another district should we emulate? Who else is getting it right that we're not getting it right? Because we did submit all this data to a state-appointed independent fact finder, certainly not in our corner, and the teachers did the same. And the compensation and the asks were not an issue for that fact finder. In fact, the fact finder said we need to add 3 more hours of parent-teacher time. So,
Mark, I think we got the question.
That's the question.
Yep,
all right?
no, I
That's
understand
the question.
What
Can we have kind of a contract from another district we should emulate? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Let's ask.
Mark, your question was directed to all 5 of them, not no one in specific, correct? Okay.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Scott?
Sure, I can answer first. I think the first thing is to say, I don't think there's any contract in particular we should emulate, right? Every district is different. Every district has very different teacher profiles, different student needs. We're a much smaller district than many other districts, right? We have things other schools don't have. We offer things to our teachers other schools don't offer to their teachers. At the same time, we don't offer things to our teachers that other schools offer. So it's a bit of a, I don't think there's a particular contract that we would want to emulate. What I would say, though, is we should be, right, the preeminent school to work on Long Island. There should be absolutely zero reason why a teacher should be holding an offer from Jericho and an offer from Cold Spring Harbor and say, maybe I'll go to Jericho, right? I think we should all strive, ideally, for that as the outcome. Where we are today is not true, right? That is not the case. I think people can say that's the case anecdotally, but what we're hearing directly from the teachers is that that is not true. Right? There are other options, and there are other places that might make more sense to work versus Cold Spring Harbor, depending on what you're optimizing for. So what I would say is we should look at all of the contracts on Long Island. We should understand the benefits that are being offered to the teachers across the island, and we should exceed those benefits. We should offer, like, you don't go to a hospital with average doctors and then say, oh man, like, why is my care not great? right? You go to a hospital with the best possible doctors in the country if you want to get the best possible care in the country. So I would hope that we hope to get the best possible teachers on Long Island if we want to have the best education on Long Island, and we're doing everything in our control to possibly do that.
Thank you, Scott. Mary, can we? Thank you.
Sure. I agree with Scott in the sense that we shouldn't be, we are our own entity, and there are a lot of, it's hard when you go through different teacher contracts. You hear the verbiage and the wording. What it means in one contract means something completely different in another contract. So let's say this district wants extra help after school. I do think they have a faculty meeting every week on Wednesdays. I'm not entirely sure what happens at those faculty meetings, but how, maybe perhaps there could be extra help at that time. Faculty meetings in my district could mean very different in any other district on Long Island. So the wording in the contracts are different. So it's very difficult to compare contracts, right? I also think that, the time that's wasted is something that we need to look at pretty clearly. If you're saying you want, if I understand your question correctly, you're talking about how to compare with any of the other districts and see what they're doing to emulate that. Is that correct? From what I understand. Right. Well, it's hard to
Mary,
compare.
unfortunately,
Sorry,
the time
yes.
is up. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Lisa.
Mark, to answer your question, I think that the contract proposed by the fact finder is a great contract. As a board member, I stand behind that contract.
Thank you, Lisa. Bill?
Sorry, this is tricky to turn it on. So specifically, I don't think there's another model contract that's out there. We have our own culture and our own community, and we need our contract to reflect our needs. That contract should support our students in a way where they're learning to the maximum benefit. It should absolutely compensate the staff more than fairly. We are absolutely one of the highest paid districts in all of New York and definitely Long Island, and that should continue. We should also be able to protect the taxpayers by keeping the tax raises reasonable and also maintain the long-term financial health of the district. So as Lisa said, I think the fact finder contract, which I think many of the points in there we've agreed with the HTA, is a great model to take up from here and get this thing done.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Kate?
Okay, so that's a hard one because I have my own contract as a teacher, and I can look at every, you could go line by line and try to figure out which contract is better. Now, in negotiations, there has been times where they have said, well, in this contract, this and this, and I have said, okay, let's look at that contract. I don't want to get too specific here. And they say, no, we don't want that whole contract. So it's hard. Again, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors unless you're there. Of course, I want the best contract for our teachers. I look at other contracts and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of demand on teachers. And we don't want demand that's, like, going to give them a burnout or make them feel like it's too much at one time. But I want the best contract for not only our teachers, but for our students. And in negotiations, we have definitely looked through a lot of contracts. And, like you said, this is Cold Spring Harbor. We have different expectations. Our students deserve the best. But no, I stand behind the contract. I think they have a very fair contract. And I think that we'll get to a resolution soon enough, and I think we can move on from this after that, and everyone will be happy, kids and teachers.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay, Lisa Olson. And we were just back, while Lisa's going up to the podium, we were just back calculating because we know everyone has their questions and we're trying to get them answered. But we will not be able to get to everyone's questions. We will end the last question that is asked by 9:25. So just it is currently 9:10.
Lisa Olson, 9 Heather Lane. Thank you all for your willingness to volunteer. Just briefly, I'd like to ask all of the candidates, besides teacher contracts, what is one thing you'd like to work to change or improve in the district if you're elected or reelected? Thank you.
Okay, we are going to start with Bill.
Great, thank you. I'm going to have a weirdly specific answer, but I do feel, and I've talked to Mr. Dambusky about this many times, I would really like to see our high school cafeteria changed quite a bit. It's really not a fun place to be in terms of food service. I think senior commons, which is adjacent to the cafeterias, would also need an improvement since the 1960s when it probably last was dealt with. But I think our students deserve a fun place with great food and a more modern feel. And so I think that's one thing I would like to see. That's going to be in line with a bunch of other capital improvement projects, but I'm excited to try and do those too because there's many things that I think will make this place even better. You know, things like upgrading electrical so we can, you know, get a better scoreboard in the field house. So I think there's a lot of good things we can do to improve the place even better. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Kate?
Thank you for that question. Gosh, I have so many things I don't even know where to start, but I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself here, but I feel very strongly about academics, and one of the things that I kind of have on my agenda is the new Portrait of a Graduate that's coming down from New York State. I really want to hone in on that and make sure that it actually aligns with Cold Spring Harbor and make sure that it is a portrait of a Cold Spring Harbor graduate, not just of a graduate, because we have a different standard here, and I want to hold our excellence high, and I want to make sure that nothing is, that standards are not lowered, because when I look through that, I see that. So it's something I want to dig into more, and I want to make sure that, you know, history is taught the way it's supposed to be, because through that I'm seeing some things that are concerning, and I just want to make sure that we stay on this track, this trend of doing better and better always. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. Mary?
I think first and foremost, we need to get the teacher contract signed and then begin to heal and move forward.
Thank you, Mary. Lisa?
Thanks for your question, Lisa. I think we always need to improve. I don't know if there's one thing that I can hone in on. I know mental health and wellness is a big issue in the district. You know, banning the cell phones was a huge step forward. But, you know, I mean, these kids have a lot of pressure. You know, pressure to take AP classes, pressure to get into college. You know, the guidance department is doing a wonderful job now. You know, they've been more active in the college application process. They started a college, a college fair. So I think that's great. I love to see new courses added. I had brought to our previous superintendent that Jericho had a real estate course and kids were graduating with a real estate license. And that's something that we're going to be offering next year. If you didn't know, now you know. I think that we also just need to be looking to improve based upon the needs of the students. You know, if the students are very interested in, you know, computer science or, you know, they want to do, we're going to have a new projector system in the gym, in the field house, you know, for our students to do art and, you know, booster club and sports and everything. So, you know, I'd like to see repairs done all over the district. I know some schools have leaky roofs. You know, there's a lot I need to do or that I would like done, nothing that I can really focus on.
Thank you, Lisa. Scott?
Sure. I think a couple things that I would want to focus on. So the first thing is just ensuring that we have broader transparency into both the key decisions that the board is making and that we would be soliciting sufficient community feedback. I hear a lot of things around percentage of parents that say, talk about extra help or other things. I've never filled a survey out. I don't know where that feedback, I'm sure parents have, but I think we could do a better job of engaging the community to actually understand what the needs are. So that includes, a lot more transparency. Two, I think capital projects, that goes along with transparency. How are we more transparent and how do we prioritize what capital projects we want to make? I hear things about projectors. I know we just built the traffic light. I don't know where that sits in terms of the actual needs of the school.
Here.
At the same time, West Side's burning down because there's no sprinklers in the library. So it's unclear, what necessarily where we're allocating sort of the funds. And I'm not saying that's anyone's fault, just to be clear, but I think that at all, right? But I am, just to be clear, but we need to prioritize where we're spending our money and understand very explicitly what the trade-offs are, right? And understand where we need to make an investment and where we don't, and not just necessarily invest in sort of things that might be helpful or people might want today, but not necessarily tomorrow. And then lastly, the third thing, very explicitly, increase UPK. There's absolutely no reason in our school why UPK can't accommodate every student. We have like 60 kids signing up for UPK. Why are like 10 parents being told that their kids didn't get in? So that would be one thing I would look to do.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, Greg Driscoll.
Hey, how you doing? Greg Driscoll, 22 Fox Meadow. So in the spirit of keeping with the Meet the Contract night, which is what we've had tonight, in addition to Meet the Candidate, I'm going to stick with that because it's obviously important. Mary and Scott, you guys are members of the community. Thank you for stepping up and running. You presented yourselves tonight as experts on how to resolve this contract dispute. Scott, you said you're going to do it in 4 hours. I wish you the best. That's a Herculean, task. So my question is, given you have all the answers, as members of the community, have you shared your solutions with the board before tonight to help them get through this 2-year, I think, impasse? And if you haven't, why haven't you? Thank you.
Greg, your questions were directed towards just Scott and Mary, correct? Correct. Thank you. Mary, would you like to go first?
I sure would. Thank you. So 2 years ago, I was walking my dog, and I ran into a neighbor I hadn't seen in a while, and she was talking about the teacher contract and how the teachers made too much money, and she talked about how at the last board meeting, there was the board president who made a very kind of a passive-aggressive statement that congratulating that our teachers are the highest paid in Long Island as per Newsday and third in the state. This was a huge issue for me. Alarm bells started to go off in my head, and I started to pay attention a little bit more.
So, Mary, I'm just gonna put a reminder that we are not being
correct. No disparaging comments, right?
No disparaging comments.
Correct.
Towards correct Board of Ed.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'm just explaining what happened. So there was a comment made about teachers making too much money. As a teacher, I took that rather personally, and I started to come to more of the board meetings, and I became a lot more aware of what exactly is going on. So it isn't exactly, if a board feels that they can present themselves in a way to a public in one, outside as the face of it, and I kind of was a little, concerned about what was happening behind closed doors. So I began to come to the meetings more often. I looked up a lot of information and comparing our contracts to others. I began to come to, come to the meetings to talk about certain letters from the superintendent that were going out that I didn't agree with either. So I have been very vocal about teacher contracts for the last year and a half.
Thank you, Mary. Scott?
Sure. So I think first of all, hopefully the takeaway isn't that Mary and I are experts in contract negotiation. I don't think that was the intent, right? What we are trying to say, or what I'm trying to say specifically, is Two things. One, right, we need to get to the table, right? I heard more than 30 times. I just want to be clear. More than 30 times in 2 years is like once a month, right? It's a little more than once a month. So it's not like we're talking about people getting together constantly on a weekly basis and hashing this out. My 2 cents is that, again, I'm not an expert, but we need to get in the room. We need to restore trust. We need to talk to the teachers, come up with reasonable solutions, because there are reasonable solutions out there, right? We all agree we're going to sign this contract at some point, right? We're all going to agree on something to move past this contract. I just think it shouldn't have taken almost 2 years to get here. So what I'm saying is not that I'm an expert or that we're going to solve this in 3 hours. What I'm saying is that there are ways to go about solving this, right, in a reasonable way, and a 2-year contract negotiation does not seem to be an acceptable outcome. And I guess to the question, sorry, there was a question about why I haven't raised this to board members. I would say when you go to the board meeting, I think it's fair to ask that question, but at the same time, again, it's not a finger-pointing exercise. Something needs to change because the current spirit of collaboration just isn't there. So it's not like saying you're right or you're right. That's not the point, right? We just need new faces to be able to actually get this thing done and restore trust.
Thank you, Scott.
We're at 9:21. So I believe this is probably going to be the last question. I'm going to totally butcher this name. I apologize. Shelley, thank you.
Beautiful name, Shelley.
Spelling, I don't make it easy for you, that's for sure. The thing I look for in a leader more than anything is someone who has deep curiosity.
Shelley, could you just give your street address?
Oh, yes, Shelley, 1 Fiddler's Green Drive.
Thank you.
1 Fiddler's Green Spur, rather. Deep curiosity and care. When this contract is signed, and it inevitably will be, and it's heartbreaking that it hasn't been for 2 years, there isn't a switch that's going to flip and everyone's going to be fine. There is going to be a great deal of deep curiosity of how did we get here? How do we not replicate this and go through this again? Because as I've heard, there's 2 contract negotiations in which we have not done this in an efficient or respectful way. And what is the care that goes around the healing that needs to happen? Morale is an issue for the students and the teachers. As we had a young woman who had the bravery to come up here and speak today, there have been many young people who have come to board meetings to say, I don't feel safe, I don't feel protected in our schools, and I need to be heard. What they have received when they have written the board is a form letter and no follow-up. It is heartbreaking that a child can be so brave as to reach out for help and not get it. So my question to you is, what steps have you taken when a child says, I feel unsafe in the classroom, to ensure that that child is felt safe, that they are heard by the appropriate people to get the remedy they need, or that they have been that there has been a mandatory reporting to the state about these issues? And if you were not a board member, what steps would you take?
Thank you, Shelley. It's a great question. We're going to start with Lisa.
So, being a board member is tough because we have to respond as a board, right? We receive letters, and they go to all of us. And we take them in, we listen. Unfortunately, all of us cannot reach out and say, okay, we got this. Either the president, the board president, or the superintendent needs to respond. Everything that you guys send us, we do listen, we discuss. These are, the more things are brought to the board, the more things we can look at them. You know, sometimes, I guess in the past, there have been issues, you know, we weren't privy to information. You know, there's some information that doesn't get up to our level. But when it does get up to our level, we do look into it. You know, we make sure that, you know, is protocol being followed? Are proper investigations being done? Is this, you know, is this staff member or this issue being looked into? What's the resolution? I mean, you've got, you know, Mark is an amazing board member. He asks at every board meeting, you know, in discussion, he checks on stuff in public. Imagine what he's like in private, right? Constantly checking, like, what about this issue? What about this issue? And we all are. But unfortunately, we can't all respond. Just how if someone comes to me with a problem, they say, I know you can't say anything, but I listen and I take it back. And, you know, and we try and help the best that we can.
Thank you, Lisa. Kate?
Thank you, Shelley. That's a great question. I have to say, before I was in the board, I felt the same way. I often felt like I would get that form letter, and it would drive me crazy. Now that I'm on the board, I don't want to, I don't know how to put this. We're really can't, like Lisa was saying, we can't always respond, but I try when I can to call people, and I listen. I think that, you know, you can see that in some of the public votes that we've taken, that I've listened and I've acted on what I've been told. And, you know, we met as a group in terms of some concerns that parents have had around the plays. So it might seem like I'm not listening, but I'm listening. And there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, especially if you're talking about teachers in particular. You know, it's a human resources file, human resource, we're not, it's confidential, but we are listening. And I'm so proud of how much I think that I have listened in the last 3 years.
We're not going to yell from the audience.
I think I've taken a lot of action, actually, and I'm proud of that. If you wanted to get into specifics, we could do it after, because I'm out, you know, my time's up. I got 50 seconds.
Thank you,
but
Kate.
I've definitely taken action.
Thank you, Kate. Bill?
Yeah, thank you. One of the most eye-opening things after joining the board is that there are many things that go on at a school. A school is a small community, right? And there's many times where unfortunate things happen where a child doesn't feel safe, maybe from their home environment or something that happens at a school with a teacher or with other students. And so we deal with this a lot. I am happy to tell you that the entire board is like completely committed. We focus a lot of energy on making sure student issues are dealt with. We conduct thorough investigations of every issue that comes to us. If that's not enough, we will go as far as to hire outside counsel to investigate to make sure things are done properly. We will make changes, any changes that we can to accommodate a student who doesn't feel safe for whatever reason. And you referenced in your question DASA reports, and absolutely we follow New York law and report everything to DASA. So I cannot emphasize how seriously we take these things, and so thank you for that question. You know, in terms of other ways, you know, I know we announced at a recent board meeting that we plan to have more interaction with some of the parent groups, and so we look forward to trying to improve that format where we can actually interact a little more.
Thank you, Bill. Mary?
Hi, how are you? You know, when I'm listening to all of the answers to this and I'm watching the crowd, the thing that comes to mind is transparency. And we talk about this word a lot, but in terms of what it means, you know, we have to make sure that we're following the protocols that were built and they were put into place for the BOEs in order for your protection. So organization is one of the things that I feel is a way in which we can create more transparency within the board to the community. You know, starting on time, for example. Executive session, if it's 7 to 8, that's when it should be. Making sure that we're here, when we're supposed to be here, not at 8:30 or 8 o'clock as opposed to 8:30. We need to make sure that there are agendas and regulations and things that are put together ahead of time so that these protections are put in place for you. You get the most out of that when the protocols and procedures that are put in place for the Board of Education by our state are followed. And you have to look at that. You have to look at how a board goes in and out of executive session. You have to look at how long it takes them to come out of executive session. You have to, when a board meeting is over, it's over. It's supposed to be over and everyone dispersed. We have to make sure to follow those procedures and protocols so that you get the most out of each board meeting and you understand exactly what's going on.
Thank you, Mary. Scott?
Sure. So, first of all, I'm going to assume that Lisa, Will, and Kate, followed all the proper protocols as it relates to reporting. I'm sure that's something that we do take very seriously, as Will, as Bill stated, around personnel issues. That being said, I think one of the major issues with the board generally, and something that I would want to potentially work on, is improving those feedback loops, right? So how do we ensure that feedback is being understood from the community and acted on quickly, and not letting it snowball to the point where we need sort of mass letters or Facebook campaigns, right, to influence change. So, the once a month board meetings, for example, look, less than half of our meetings get public comment. Part of the reason is because, honestly, what Mary said, a lot of the agendas aren't clear. I showed up to a board meeting, this past board meeting, the first 2 hours of it was the tenure ceremony, which was beautiful, but that was nowhere reflected, in the agenda. So it is hard to engage. It is hard to stay until 11:30, midnight, to just get a public comment in as a member of the community. And so, to Bill's point, I think getting much tighter with the parent-teacher groups and the other parent groups, the Central Parents Council, with the board, ensuring that those feedback loops are really tight. And if there's something about student safety, that we are acting on that immediately, and making ourselves aware of that immediately. So that's something I'd focus on.
Thank you, Scott. Before we begin our closing statements, because we're out of time, if you have any outstanding questions, you can contact the candidates directly, and you can find their contact information on our CPC page.
I think we should just give a round of applause to all. This is very hard for all of them, so give them all a lot of credit.
I was going to save that until after their closing statements.
Sorry,
but
I didn't mean to steal
No,
your
you're
thunder.
fine. Just steal my shine. No, I'm
Sorry.
kidding. I want to say that it takes so much guts for any of us to be up here. Okay, bye. For 12 out of 12. It's a personal joke. It takes so much guts and courage for any of us, right, to sit up here, Board of Ed, CPC, to field questions, to, moderate, to own a room. And I just want to give all of us up here a round of applause because we all worked really hard to put tonight together. So I want to thank everyone, for coming. And we're going to start our closing statements. We're going to start in reverse order. We're going to start with Bill.
Thank you. So first, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity for the last 3 years to represent the community in the BOE. As I mentioned in my opening, I found it very valuable and rewarding. I would like to keep doing this. I have learned a lot in my time, in my 3 years, and I think I can have a great impact and continue that, bringing my experience to it. We certainly want to keep focused on student learning and improving the outcomes, and also on some of the other things like, capital improvements that are going to be a big financial commitment as we move forward. I want to say and acknowledge that Kate and Lisa have been amazing partners over the 3 years. We wind up, as well as the rest of the board, but we wind up working through things and achieving the same vision And I think we've achieved a lot in the past 3 years, especially as Ms. Redden said in her opening. You know, I do think we've developed much better trust than we had 3 years ago. I think we've put the right senior team in place to run the district. I think we've done a lot to make the board meetings more transparent. And I do think in the agenda we did mention that there was going to be a reception, but I think that's the way you honor a lot of teachers who have spent their whole career here at Cold Spring Harbor, because when we lose teachers, it's usually to retirement. So, you know, one final word on the contract, because that was the thing that we focused on tonight. We all value the teachers. I reject the idea that taking a stand for things like giving students extra help is not valuing the teachers, or that it's disrespectful. We've also been accused of a lot of misinformation, and I think people should get their facts right. We were told just to get it signed, and I would just point out that 2 candidates are endorsed by the HTA, and we represent the entire community, the students, the workers as staff, and the taxpayers. It's not, we don't just represent the HTA. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Scott?
Sure. Thank you again for everyone. Just really quickly to echo Bill's point, Mary and I are in fact backed by the Cold Spring Harbor Teacher Association, which we very much appreciate. I think it's worth noting that they probably wouldn't have asked us to run had they not been incredibly frustrated by the protracted contract issue that's currently happening, and it certainly doesn't represent a vote of confidence in the existing board. As we close tonight, I want to come back to the reason I decided to run for the Board of Education in the first place. Like so many families here, Cold Spring Harbor was deeply personal to me. The school shaped who I became as a student and as a person, and now as a parent of 2 young children just beginning their educational journey. I think every day about the kind of district we want them in, and every child in this community to experience over the next 15 years. What has always made Cold Spring Harbor special is not simply our rankings, our awards, or our reputation. It is the people. It is the culture of partnership that exists when parents, teachers, administrators, and the board are all working together with trust and mutual respect towards one shared goal of doing what is best for our students. Over the past few years, we've been seeing incredible accomplishments across our district, and we should all be really proud of them. But we also know the challenges remain. The ongoing contract situation has created a division at a time when our students need unity, stability, and collaboration. I believe we can move forward, I believe we can store trust, and I believe we can create an environment where every part of this community once again feels united around delivering the best possible education for every student who walks through our doors. And that is the kind of leadership I will bring to this role. Thoughtful, collaborative, and always focused on students first. I care deeply about this district not only because of where it has been, but because of where it is going. My family's future is here, and I want to help ensure that the next generation of Cold Spring Harbor students has the same opportunities, support, and sense of community that meant so much to me growing up. Thank you again for being here tonight, and I would be honored to earn your vote for the Cold Spring Harbor Board of Education.
Thank you, Scott. Mary?
Hey, I'm going to try to finish a little bit what I wrote initially. I was cut off initially in the beginning, but I've spent my entire life dedicated to students, not just with special needs, but also students who are in the general education program as well. From early intervention, providing applied behavior analysis to students with autism, from K-1-2, self-contained classrooms, from elementary ICT programs, from high school integrated co-teaching with content specialists such as chemistry and bio. I've pretty much done it all. And the reason I had to do that was because I'm a big picture person. I have to see overall what it is that we're doing. And you know, my personal feeling about how a Board of Education should be working collaboratively with their teachers was the reason why I came to try to do this, you know. That was why I put my hat in the ring. I know what the teachers go through on a day-to-day basis because I am one of those teachers. I've had to wear those shirts. I've had to, you know, not silence myself because those teachers have no voice, okay? Understand that. They have no voice, and the BOE cannot use this platform in order to promote their own agenda, okay? The teachers wear those shirts because they have no other way of getting their point across to the community that there is an issue. And there is an issue if it is 2.5 years later and there is no new contract. They have had no cost of living raise in the past 3 years. With inflation as it is now, that is a huge hit to everyone's pocketbook. And everyone loves the teachers and how much they appreciate them. However, I don't see action in that. This is a silly dispute which needs to be resolved.
Thank you, Mary. Lisa?
Thank you again to the CPC for giving us the opportunity to speak this evening, and thank you again to my fellow candidates and the community for attending. I'm respectfully asking for your support as I seek re-election on May 19th. It has been an honor to serve this district for over 10 years, and as a board member, my focus has always been simple: supporting excellent opportunities for our students while being responsible with taxpayer resources. And over the past 3 years, we've worked through changing educational needs and financial challenges while continuing to strengthen our schools. I have served on several board committees working with stakeholders on academics, facilities, safety, technology, and long-term planning. Together, we've expanded programs, strengthened student supports, and improved safety and communication across the district. But the work isn't complete. Cold Spring Harbor is a special place, and I care deeply about its future. I have never hidden my enthusiasm or my love for this community, and that includes the students, faculty, and administrators. If re-elected, I promise to continue to serve to the best of my ability and maintain the tradition of excellence in the Cold Spring Harbor schools.
Thank you, Lisa. Kate?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to just start with a little bit of rebuttal since we're allowed to only do that now. Scott, I just want to let you know there is a very clear agenda always in every meeting, and it's posted online. I think it's either 24 or 48 hours before. So that's something that just want to note. We've also added public comments to the beginning of the meeting so people wouldn't have to wait all the way to the end. I agree that was not a good way of organizing the meeting. And also, I know, Mary, you speak to protocol, but this kind of goes back to one of the questions on a blanket statement, and this is, we don't have enough time to get into open meeting laws, but it's one of the reasons we're so closely following protocol that we cannot, because in order to have an email back to the community, we'd have to have a meeting, a quorum of 4. We're not allowed to do that over text or email, so it's hard to come up with a response until we're all together. So that just is following protocol. And I'm also taking a little bit of offense to the fact that I'm kind of being made out to be someone who doesn't support teachers. I'm a teacher for over a decade. I absolutely love my teachers. I know you talk about teacher morale. I have to say my kids come home happy. My kids' teachers all seem like they're doing a wonderful job, and the negotiations are very respectful, and I think they're heading in the right direction. I'm confident we'll get them done. But in closing tonight, I believe that people are placing their trust in me, and I know my work is not done, and I remain committed to being a vigilant board member and doing what's best for teachers, students, taxpayers, and continue to hold ourselves to a higher standard and to always expect excellence. I will continue to fight to maintain local control, transparency, and supporting all students so they can achieve at their highest level possible. Thank you again.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everyone. Again, thank you to the 5 candidates for coming out tonight, and they're willing to run for the Board of Ed for the next 3 years. Let's give them one more round of applause, please. Thank you, everyone. As a reminder, the vote is on Tuesday, May 19th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Cold Spring Harbor Junior Senior High School in the Fieldhouse. The district does offer early and absentee voting, so if that's something that interests you, please go to the district website for info on that. A recording of tonight will be posted on the district website within the next 24 hours. Please make sure to watch and share with your friends, family, and community. Our next and final CPC meeting of the year is Thursday, May 21st at 9 a.m. in the district office if you want to come hang out with us again. And the next Board of Ed meeting is June 9th at 8 p.m. Safe home. Thanks again.